Good evening. Welcome to the August 11th, 2025 Troy City Council meeting. This evening, we're honored to have Pastor Stephen Conaway from Troy Seventh-day Adventist Church to provide us with an invocation. So please rise if you are able and remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow our heads. Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege of life and health and a portion of strength, and we are grateful for all the wonderful privileges that are enjoyed right here in this city of Troy. We're also grateful for the leaders that this community has been blessed with. We ask for wisdom in all of its proceedings and decisions, a wisdom that the residents of this community deserve, a wisdom that comes only from you. So now we ask for a blessing not only on this meeting, but on this community and all of its residents from the youngest to the oldest. In the name of Jesus, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate that. I'll call to order the August 11th, 2025 Troy City Council meeting and ask for the roll call for Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga?
Here.
Councilmember Chanda?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Here.
All present this evening. First up are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have none this evening. We have no carryover items, so we move on to public hearings. We do have one. E1 is a public hearing, conditional rezoning, JPCR 2025-002, proposed Northland Enclave, west side of Corporate, north of Long Lake, 5455 Corporate, PIN 88-20-08-451-004, Section 8 from O Office Zoning District to CB Community Business and MF Multifamily Zoning Districts. And I see our Community Development Director, Brent Savedon, has come forward to start the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Baker, City Council. Nice to see you again. It's been a while since we brought a conditional rezoning to you, so I thought a couple of slides as a refresher for the incumbent council members as well as some of the candidates who may be dealing with conditional rezoning sometime in the future. So conditional rezoning is similar to what we call a straight rezoning or a zoning ordinance map amendment, except the difference is applicants may voluntarily offer conditions of approval in order to protect adjacent properties from the secondary impacts of the development. And conditions that are typically voluntarily offered include use, height, and hours of operation, but there can be more like setbacks and more landscaping, et cetera. The main reason for doing so is predictability. Because the developer voluntarily offers conditions, if approved, those voluntarily offered conditions are in the form of a conditional rezoning agreement that is recorded. The document is enforceable. So what it does is it lets the neighbors who are concerned with development know what could be there and oftentimes, more importantly, what's not going to be there. So that is predictable. And what it does is it helps strike a balance between the developer having property rights and developing the property, but also protecting the neighbors so that the development is not at the expense of impacts on neighbors. So it's that win-win that we're always talking about. So this application, the present zoning is O Office. It's 8.2 acres in area, and it's presently there's a underutilized, underperforming office space that's located on the property. And what the developer intends to do is rezone the parcel from O Office to 2 zoning districts. So this would be a mixed zoning parcel, which, before anyone asks, is not common, but not unheard of. It's relatively common in zoning. So the 2 proposed zoning districts are CB Community Business and MF Multifamily Residential, and the applicant has submitted a site plan. And what the applicant proposes is the area outlined in pink represents that portion of the property that is to be rezoned from O Office to Community Business, and the area outlined in green represents that portion of the property proposed to be rezoned to MF multifamily. The surrounding zoning is pretty much a mixed bag. You see the parcel subject property here outlined in red. There's a range of zoning districts in North Troy. Office, research center, community business, single-family residential, office mixed use, environmental protection, and residential attached. So it's very much mixed in terms of zoning, and there's also a wide range of uses there, including office, residential, and commercial. One thing that rezoning the rear portion of the property to MF does is it is consistent with across Northfield to the west, there is residential properties. The master plan. Some of you were on City Council in 2016 when we amended it for the master plan for the first time, and we created the North Troy Special Area Plan. The latest amendment of the master plan, we essentially didn't touch this. North Troy, there are 3 priorities proposed for the future of North Troy. Priority 1, I sound Canadian when I say that, priority. Priority 1 is providing a compatible and vibrant mix of uses. And there's a number of strategies to help to get to meeting priority 1. The first is promoting service infill through property repurposing. And the action to do that is amending the zoning map if necessary. And the second strategy is promoting residential infill through property repurposing. And again, it may require amending the zoning ordinance. So let's take a very brief, deeper dive into those 2 strategies. So the first one, promoting service infill through property repurposing. What the master plan tells us is that underutilized parking areas may be used for service infill development. And furthermore, infill development is recognized as an effective way to achieve a variety of goals, including making better use of existing infrastructure, locating community services, jobs, and shopping in close proximity to neighborhoods. And the second strategy of promoting residential infill through property repurposing, the master plan tells us, 1, a variety of housing options will provide residents with convenient access to work, school, and daycare needs. And secondly, low to medium scale attached and multifamily housing provides an appropriate transition between the more intense multiple story office use and the less intense single family neighborhoods. That's directly lifted from the master plan. So overall, removing an underperforming office building, repurposing the site for commercial and residential is consistent with the priority 1 of the North Troy sub-area plan. The applicant offered a number of conditions, again, voluntarily. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one of the conditions restricts density on the site to no more than 10 buildings and 82 total units, and another restricts the height of the buildings not to exceed, for the 3-story units, not to exceed 32 feet. Site layout, the retail is at the front, residential is at the back. The retail building is 5 units and a drive-through on the southern portion of the building here. And again, 10 residential buildings with a total of 82 units. Access to the site is on Corporate, and it does connect to the sidewalk system on Corporate Drive. And we reviewed the site plan, and it is compliant with the zoning ordinance. Again, 5,800 square feet of retail, 5 retail units. 2 and 3-story buildings. The applicant proposed elevations. The retail building is to be no higher than, it's going to not exceed 27 feet in height. Quality materials, including brick, stucco, and stone. And the exterior color is black, dark gray, light gray. And for residential, the 2-story does not exceed 26 feet. The 3-story, which is on the bottom, does not exceed 32 feet. Similar quality building materials and colors that don't mimic the retail, but they certainly complement the retail. There are color renderings in your packet, not only for the site, but for the buildings. And the Planning Commission found that the application met the conditional rezoning standards in the ordinance. In terms of overall benefits, the Planning Commission and staff felt that there were a number of benefits. I'll just go through them really briefly. Adding 82 housing units to the housing stock during a housing crisis is a good thing. The applicant is here, and you can ask him more direct questions, but he's indicated that the units will be attainable, which is one of his goals. Not necessarily affordable by any federal definition, but attainable to the working class person. Removing 90,000 square feet of underperforming office space during an office market crisis is a good thing. The latest figures I saw were 16.5% vacancies in Troy. This represents an appropriate transition between large office and single-family residential. Retail amenities support North Troy, and investment stimulates investment. If this is approved and this is successful, we can assume that there's going to be copycat investment, copycat types of applications. The Planning Commission had a public hearing on this item, May 13th, 2025, recommended approval 9-0. They did have some design considerations related to the site plan, and the applicant voluntarily incorporated all of those design considerations into the site plan that's before you this evening. And with that being said, I can answer any questions, and there's also a video that the applicant prepared. It's not very long, that helps to illustrate what's proposed. If you would indulge me, I'd like to play the video. And we actually got the music to play this time. I requested Pearl Jam, but no such luck. Obviously, the retail portion facing corporate. Happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here this evening.
Thanks, Brent. So I can assume from the applicant's not making a separate presentation, right?
I don't believe so.
Just making sure.
I
Okay.
was hoping he was going to come up here and say what a great job I did.
You did a nice job. How about that? Does that help?
Nice. Great's better.
Questions from council? Councilmember Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have several. Some may be for the applicant, but we'll start with you, Brent. So first question is, it stated earlier on that of this lot, 24% are buildings and 25% is open green space. So what is the 51%? Is that mostly parking? What is the rest of it?
Parking and sidewalks.
Parking and sidewalks.
So it would be an impervious area, unless his engineer can correct me. I think.
Mostly parking. It's a reminder of how much parking there typically needs to be.
The standard requirement for open space on a site is 20%.
Okay.
This would exceed that by 5%.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Other question is, you have the closest R1C housing is on Northfield Drive there. I realize it's just 2 to 3 stories, the tallest being 3 stories. Would they be able to see any of that from that neighborhood? Just curious.
In this instance, if you could look at the overhead, the neighborhood you're talking about is over here to the west,
yeah.
and there's an existing building here.
Right. Lots of trees, I see.
and lots of trees. But even if that building, and I'm not saying I've got any insider information, I certainly don't. But even if that building were to go away at some point in the future, the tallest buildings in this development are only 32 feet. And just a reminder, the maximum height for a single-family home in Troy is 30 feet. So we're talking about this much difference between a single-family home and a 3-story.
And do we know which ones are 3 stories? It's probably on page 59, but it's so detailed, it's hard to see which ones of the buildings are.
It's probably quicker for the applicant to come up. He'll know that off the top of his head. I'll have to look at my notes.
Thank you. I'll ask you I have another question
Yeah.
I think that you can answer. Is this our 3rd conversion project potentially that we're considering and could move forward?
So it's not a conversion. That building's coming down.
It's coming down, so it's not a conversion?
Yeah.
Okay, right, okay.
But if it was a conversion, it would be our 4th potential conversion.
Potential, okay. I'm just trying to keep track. And another thing for you, Brent, is I remembered, because I was thinking there's this, this interesting project, but there isn't a lot of housing around. Where would people, kind of go? But we do have the POD a bit south of there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remind me how much residential is a part of that POD, if we're there yet?
It was conceptual in nature. We didn't have any applications yet, but there was interest at one point, and that interest has subsequently shifted from that site to another site about 1.5 miles that way.
Right.
Many of us attended a groundbreaking for that site last week. I want to say it's that apartment or condo in and of itself was well over 100 units. So, but that, as you indicate, that PUD to the south is a mixed-use development
exactly.
with not only residential, but potentially offices, parking deck, commercial, restaurants, et cetera.
Which creates some dynamism, because I'm thinking about putting a complex here where, there's a Starbucks down the road a little bit, but what else will people do? But we have the POD, and we'll have more housing so people can interact with other people. That's right. Okay, I think the other question is for the applicant then.
Why don't we hold applicant questions and deal with some Brent questions first? We'll come back. Mayor Pro Tem Gunn for Brent.
The building that's just to the west of the development, that's not in the development, it's in other companies. How tall is that one?
The applicant can answer your question.
Because I think that R1C can probably see that as well, right? I just want
Yep.
to see if it's, and it looks like we've had nobody come forward from these other buildings that are outside nobody's had an issue with this development.
That's correct. There was no controversy during the Planning Commission public hearing, and I would note that the single-family residential is on the other side of Northfield, which is Kurt Bovensiep's here, but I'm going to guess it's 120-foot right away at least. So it's not like it's right next to single-family residential. There is that natural buffer of a road.
I would just say I like the fact that it's a great idea. I like that's off of Corporate Drive because it's not going to affect the main, Long Lake or Crooks there, So I don't think we'll have as much traffic problem compared to, so looks good.
And if I could add, a large office building like that would have, in its heyday, would have had a lot of office workers arriving at once and a lot of office workers leaving at once, whereas 82 residential units is going to, at least that portion of it, is going to meter the trips in and out. So it's going to have potentially less impact on corporate than the office building would have.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilmember Chanda?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I like the idea. It is in utilization of underutilized office space. Just a couple of quick questions. How big are the units? I don't know if it says somewhere here in terms of square footage. Oh, okay. So 1,200, 1,300.
I'm gonna again, I'd have to dig into my notes, and Mr. Nicola is here, and he's got this at his fingertips.
Okay.
It's like 900.
So that's attainable. I guess affordability is a different
Yeah.
question, but
And he could talk about what he proposes in terms of price too.
Price range and all this. And then the entrance, I know the the retail is facing Corporate Drive, and how about the residential? What's the entrance?
So we have this, this conversation. I only included the fronts of the buildings with the traditional front doors, just to illustrate the design and compare. I could have included the backs, but they've all got garages.
Okay.
So internally, when you drive through the site, you're going to see a lot of garages.
Okay.
But they're tastefully designed. The feeling was that side, kind of the front side, the nice shiny side would face out.
Okay.
And the garages would be interior,
Okay.
so that they're accessible by vehicle.
And there'll be separate parking spot, I'm assuming, like the 50% of
Yes.
it? Okay, so one garage per unit and then parking spot in there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one explains.
You can see there's guest parking spaces scattered throughout the site.
Okay. No, I mean, I like the idea. I mean, it's pretty well utilization of space and, 82 units, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just to confirm, the access to the property is on both sides of the retail, right? To the residential portion? Is that what I'm
It's still through corporate, I guess,
saying?
right?
Off of corporate only. There's no back.
There's no
side on
back, yeah,
Northfield
that was
Parkway.
kind of what I was.
That was you. I think you were asking.
Yeah, that was my question. I think it's still through corporate, right?
So if you
It's only on the northern.
it's only a one-way on the south side.
Outside of there.
Fire department has signed off on all of that, of course, right? Just confirming. All right. Additional questions for Brent? Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you. These are all intended to be sold, right? And none of these are going to be rental units?
Sold.
Got it. So Councilmember Chamberlain mentioned the PUD at the corner there. We approved that quite a while ago, and I haven't really seen any progress there. So how would the construction of this kind of coordinate with the construction of that? What's going on with that? Because that would be a lot of stuff happening in one area at the same time. So I'm curious. I also know there's other vacant lots nearby that we definitely need a lot of love there too. So I'm curious how that is looking. Like, are the two projects kind of get done at the same time, or is the PUD kind of just hanging out right now?
That's a good way of putting it. It's just kind of hanging around, you know. They received conceptual development plan approval a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Right.
They have not submitted preliminary development plans for any of the phases, so we don't have any pending applications. And as you'll recall, for PUDs, there's a negotiation that goes to Planning Commission for a public hearing first, then the City Council for a public hearing, then they got to do their final engineering, et cetera, et cetera. So they're not going to start this construction season. This could potentially start this construction season. My guess is there's not going to be much in the way of overlap. And if there is construction that commences on the PUD site, it's not going to be all 25 acres. It's going to be a portion of it. So I think the impact is not going to cause mass disturbance for this area.
Got it. Makes sense.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brent, for the presentation. Now, you had mentioned that some of the suggestions from the Planning Commission had been incorporated by the applicant. Can we just go through some of those more specifically?
You're
Or
really
should the applicant-
making me think. When it went in front of the Planning Commission, there were only 9 stacking spaces instead of 10, so they added another stacking space. They moved the air conditioning units and screened them better. They added a number of benches to the internal courtyard. They widened the porch areas for many of the units to 7 feet to make it more comfortable for people to sit. I'm hitting the most significant ones. They weren't significant changes at all. It did not require like major surgery on the site plan. It was very small tweaks that I think were really good suggestions and that were easily incorporated.
Perfect, thank you. Other question that I had was just with the drive-through. I mean, obviously it is separated. It looks like there's a barrier between residential and the business. But are there any concerns? I know we've talked in the past sometimes about drive-throughs and potentially creating a traffic buildup. Do we have any concerns about any hazards with having a drive-through there?
The quick answer is no, and one of the reasons for this is the stacking. There's plenty of room to stack here. I think 10 stacking spaces gets you to around here, and there's still even more spaces. The applicant indicated the types of tenants he's proposing, because he does meet the minimum requirements for the number of overall parking spaces for this facility, but it's not going to be able to accommodate like a Chick-fil-A or something like that. He's got 5 tenants, not just one, so he's got to find the right mix of tenants, not only because he doesn't want to negatively impact his parking, but also this isn't Crooks or Long Lake. This is corporate. So there's only so many tenants, drive-through tenants, that are going to want to utilize that drive-through. So it's got to be the right fit, and he recognizes that. But to answer but no, we're not concerned with impacts of stacking.
Okay, thank you. Final question. Has there been any talks about incorporating any EV charging stations or anything such as that with this property?
I'll defer to the applicant.
Any other questions for Brent? All right, should we?
Can I ask one more quick one? So I know this is a conditional rezoning, and one of the conditions is around this guaranteed open space at 25%. In terms of that, you also, I love the playground, love the outdoor kind of play area, but that's not, in terms of what it's used for, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that, but we do have a guarantee of open space. Is that correct?
No, we're going to get that.
We know that we will get that. Okay, get the outdoor and kind of what you're seeing. Okay.
We're going to get, that's a great question. We're going to get that because the site plan and all the documents
that's right.
that are included in the site plan
That's right.
are a condition, voluntarily offer a condition of approval. So that's what we're going to get.
Okay. Thanks.
Should we have the applicant come up for some questions? I'm going to go back to you, Councilmember Chamberlain, because you started. Although he's heard some of them already. So do you want to answer some up front, or do you want to wait for them to be asked?
I will answer all of them. I try to give them a shot. Good evening, Area Nicola, Eureka Development, 5920 Livernois, Troy. This has been a very exciting project that has taken us months with our team and the support of city functions. Thanks, Mr. Sevedon, great job. We have come this far with input from a variety of demographics, neighbors, office owners in the adjacent properties. In a way, I would summarize this as a revolutionary pioneered plan for this area of North Troy, because it's an area where it's lacking this mixed development, and it's with the office space the way that it has suffered in recent years with occupancy. We see this as the next level for that area of Troy in terms of mixed-use development that would sustain this area for the future. Now, if I may, I'm going to try to take the questions that I heard. I will start, and then if I miss any of them, please let me know. I want to start first with the building heights. This is the, right? Okay, so these two buildings on the west side, these are the only 2 3-story buildings. Everything else in the site is 2-story buildings. These buildings here are 25-foot height. These 2 buildings are 32-foot height. And then, can I move the pages up and down? All right, and then if we go to, I'm going to go to the slide that shows the site. 1 second. No, I went the wrong way. One more, right, okay. So now the question was, the R1C to the west of Northfield here, do they see this site here? Well, this building here, the question was, first of all, this building, how tall is it? It's a 4-story building, 55 foot in height. So we are at 32 feet here. There's this building here that was built in 1989, 1990. It's a 55-foot, approximately, depending on which side of the building you sit. And it's a 4-story building. So people that live in this area here, they probably can see maybe a little bit of this building in between the trees, but they will not be able to see any of this here. And as far as the other question, circulation-wise, so it's interesting because this site, this is Timberland 1. This is the name of the office building that was built in 1985. This building here is Timberland 2 that was built in 1986. Same owner, right? Same developer back then. And this is Timberland 3 that was built in 1989. So these were the gems back in the 80s for the office space. When they were built, this building here was considered Class A building until 2010, when for various reasons, some of them we know, the new developments, it has now become almost empty, and there's no longer rating between Class A, B, and C because the ownership has neglected over the years. Now, I'm talking about the neighborhood just to get a feel to what's going on with this whole triad here with these three buildings. Building to the south, we know it's an equity firm that owns this building, Timberland 2 and Timberland 3. They've been very well to work with us in terms of, discussions on the site because we do have access throughout the site. So here's an access road that this parcel, our parcel here in question, has granted access to this building here as well as this building here as part of the overall access easement circulation, which means that aside from having access from corporate, the new development will have one access here and of course one exit drive-through, which we're not counting for residential. We have one entrance here that comes into the site and then exits here as well to the existing driveway, which we're not touching. The area here is not being touched at all. The existing driveway with the surrounding trees, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. Okay, so if I went too fast, did I miss anything on building heights, please?
No.
Are we good? Okay. So now we're going to go to this layout here. This is the layout as mentioned by Mr. Sevedan is that we are binding with this site plan as it pertains to all the features that we have voluntarily offered, including building design, site plan, building heights and whatnot. Also includes the green spaces. So we're not only excited about this area here, which we have, we have a playground, we have a water feature here for people to sit, which the neighbors do love it because we do have a similar project nearby and we have similar amenities. But we also saved almost an acre of all this area here, which is going to be untouched from the current woods and trees that we currently have in this area, as well as, if you see there's a tree line all the way here on this side of the property, which we're not touching. It's still part of our property because we're not touching this access road whatsoever. So with that said, we're saving a substantial amount of the existing trees on the site, and we're creating this natural walkway that's going to be right in here so people can walk their dogs, they can walk themselves as part of the community. Okay, the other question that I captured was the building sizes. So we're excited to work in the community over the years, and we have gotten to know a lot of the neighbors and a lot of the community with what the community is missing in terms of housing. We're missing starter homes. We're missing the economically attainable housing for the Gen Zs or Gen Xs that are coming up, and they need housing. We do see a trend in the recent years, let's build more rental properties, more apartments for lease, because that's a way that we can fit in this more dense housing requirement into the community, and that's how can become as affordable as possible. But we've noticed that, home ownership is, back in the day when I bought my first house, home ownership was, you buy a first house when you're like 26, 27. Now it's almost 38, and because they're not economically attainable. So what we think is this: we could have worked with the existing office space to repurpose it. It would have become another beautiful project where we would have offered more rental housing. But that's not something the community needs. Rental housing, it does the job for immediate housing needs, but long-term sustainability, we need to think of that because that's something that we're missing. And by providing this type of product, a for-sale product, we're promoting home ownership, and it's the only way to sustain this community in the future. Because obviously there's no more open space in Troy. We have to think outside the box. How do we repurpose the landscape, not the buildings, the landscape, so it fits the future? The housing types are here, as I said, 2 stories, 1,560 plus or minus square feet. up to 1,750 plus or minus square feet. There are 2-car garages. So this is the right starting point that we have discovered via our market research for the whole Oakland County, the eastern side of Oakland County. So we're trying to make sure that we fit the demographic with the starter home that we're proposing here. In addition, as we've become aware over the years, the recent years, with the amenities, the requirements, the EV landscape, we have incorporated for each unit EV chargers at the garages. So every garage will have EV chargers. This is not the first project. We did it, the first time we did it was 6 years ago at Squirrel Lake Court near Beaumont. We did it again at Butterfield with Center Court. So that is a standard feature that we offer, because that's the way of the future, sustainability and so forth. I don't know if I hit all the points. Did I miss anything?
Councilmember Chamberlain.
Just a quick, yes, very well said. I did want to just confirm on the west property line, all those trees are preserved?
So there's a number of trees that are preserved here, and there's a number of trees that will be removed, we'll replace them.
Okay.
So these, the tall trees in a long list line here will remain. Some will be removed, but they will be replaced. There's a ratio, there's a formula that whatever, that the planning department has worked with us to ensure that we are meeting the ordinance for any tree replacement for this type of zoning.
Excellent. And those are hardwoods, I believe. I know it's in here somewhere.
Yeah, so if I can tell you, so if you look at this view, this is more, I'd say, so if you look at this belt of trees here, this belt of trees has got a lot of mature trees. I'd say more than half will remain on this whole belt here. We'll remove some of it along this way, but the majority will remain. And also, we'll have all these trees that are very mature trees. If you drive this driveway, we'll have all this wooded area will remain. Also, all this wooded area will remain.
Right, and I just mentioned hardwoods because they just, they're great screening. They just provide a lot of voluminous green around there. Yeah.
Agreed.
Councilmember Chanda.
Thanks, yeah, I think you answered most of my questions. One thing I'm curious, there are like 5 retail units, and how many of them are drive-through? I mean, you can...
Only one unit.
Only one unit.
Only one, and we're promoting the community kind of feel, because we don't want to, ideally want to get a mix of maybe a larger chain, or maybe the majority are going to be locally owned and operated, like a coffee house. Like, there's at the corner of the shopping center, there used to be a Yemeni coffee house that was a local. We are promoting something that nature. We would like to get that type of a business in that corner.
5 separate businesses?
So we have 5 units. There could be as many as 5, but we don't have to have 5. We could have 2 or 3 depending on who's coming in. But the parking ratio, the drive-through, the traffic is based on the overall size of the building, which is limited to 5,800 square feet.
I mean, the way I look at it, you can probably only have 1 or 2 drive-through, right? Because it's only one lane that's kind of...
Yeah, only one unit will have a drive-through. So if you look, only one unit. So,
okay.
We have, if you look at 5 units here, cut this way, only this corner unit here.
Last one will.
This has a window. This is the only one that has a wide drive-through.
Okay.
That's the only one.
Makes sense.
Coffee shop.
Coffee shop. And I don't know if you can comment on the price range you were looking at.
Yeah, thank you. So, when we designed this 6 months ago, we designed this in good faith, thinking that tariffs are not going to hit us. So unfortunately, we are very fluid. But our goal, as part of this community, we've been here over 15 years now, is to have it at the starting point around 300s, upper 300s. So the goal is to have units that are affordable. Now, that's our goal, and we're going to try to meet it with some of the units. But rest assured that, we want to be part of this community and develop this site, and we want to attract those home buyers. So we want to have it at the right price point.
Okay. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
So you refer to these as, I guess, starter homes, but these are condos, right?
Yes,
So you have a condo association.
absolutely.
So a lot of times those condo associations, they allow for rentals, where you have a certain percent.
Good point. Yes, we'll have a very, I think is less than 20 or 30% that could be rentable, but that's also part of our discussion. So when we do these communities, we do not want to promote investment properties. We want to promote home ownership. And based on our experiences with other projects in the area, we only see less than 20% of these units are being bought by investors that we see. So let's say you have 80 units, you may have 10 or 12 units that are, but the majority of them are going to be owned by people.
It seems a little high because my experience in dealing with condo associations is in order to get the insurance, they like to keep it at least 10% or less.
That is the standard, has been the standard in the industry for a number of years until COVID hit. And then the industry, the insurance industry has adapted to say that, we have to be flexible, otherwise we're going to lose tenants. And I think that mark has increased a bit. And I see it's around 20% at this point that we can get. Again, as we see it less than 20 when it comes down to the sales. And what we do is we promote ownership in a sense that, a person that started a family that has a young child or 2 young children, they want to go to the choice schools. They're the first to come and buy the unit. Investor will be second because investor sees it as investment property for the long term, and a homeowner sees it as more of a need, and they will buy it.
Sometimes the investor will come in first.
So what we do is once we put those checks in places, and again, you can call our communities that we have now, the HOAs manage them. And you will see that the way we conduct sales is that we will not advertise to investors unless there's a unit that we've had in the market for a year that, certain location, certain corner, whatnot, that may not fit, homeowner doesn't like it, then we may get an investor. It's the overall idea of home ownership is that they take ownership not on their own unit, they take ownership in the whole community.
Right.
And we have this perception, which is not wrong, that majority of the time the investor, all he cares about bringing the money in, and then, so what we have is we have a very strong bylaw system that we apply in these communities to ensure that even if there's an investor there, they're going to take care of their unit and some with the surrounding area. So we have a very extensive legal team that works on the bylaws, and we have those in place in other communities.
Thank you. Additional questions for the applicant? Councilmember Hoderick.
Appreciate the questions about the Northfield Parkway side of things and the homes over there. These are kind of my stomping grounds, so there is a pretty big buffer. So I appreciate how well you addressed that. I'd like to flip the conversation to the Corporate Drive side. It's a pretty bike ride through there.
Yes.
Those office buildings and the shade trees and whatnot. And I see, and I've seen at Planning Commission that where you've talked about what that front view will be, even retaining some of the trees, I believe. Maybe you
Yes.
could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so the bike, and I do see, and I do walk all our properties usually on a weekend, every other weekend or so, just to see, we have multiple properties, different areas. And I walk this area here, there's people that walk their dogs here in this sidewalk, which is the western sidewalk of Corporate Drive. So I'm assuming they come from somewhere on Long Lake, and they come up here, and they make a full loop on Crooks and come back into their, I'm assuming.
Probably Mary Hill Lake.
I'm assuming. But the idea there is that once we have this nice patio retail building here with a coffee shop, hopefully, and some other small retail here, we have a nice 18-foot patio here with seating outdoors. We want those walkers early in the morning, on a summer morning with a dog, to walk here and stop by and have a coffee, rest for 10 minutes, and then keep walking. We have trees, as I said, we're keeping all these trees here. This area that in front will have some nice landscaping, obviously here is not shown because it's very dense. We'll have further trees here. The idea is that this is a neighborhood stop where you would, while you're walking and riding your bike, you can stop here and have a coffee and sit down and be part of the community. Now, how's it going to affect in terms of the traffic? I would expect that people are going to live here. They're going to use all these sidewalks inside as well as the outside sidewalks to walk their dogs and bikes on off hours, on the evening time, during the weekends, and they're going to utilize this retail for some of their leisure needs, such as having a coffee or a drink or whatnot. That's how we envision it.
Additional questions? Councilmember Hamilton.
What's your timeline here if you're approved tonight?
Good
when do you
question.
think the units will be move-inable?
Good question. So the final tenant at the corporate drive, the Timberland One building, is moving out in next week, Friday. We have demo plans ready to go. We're going to demo the building. It's scheduled for October, end of September, October. Will be done by mid-November, weather depending. And then the plan is, with the great support we've gotten over the years from the engineering department, that we break ground on the underground in January timeframe when the ground is frozen. We see this project as a 2-year project.
Okay.
That's how we see it. So 2 years to finish this project, I think that's a normal timeline for us.
Thank you.
I gave you some milestones to see the near term. That's.
Sounds good. Any additional questions for the applicant? All right, well, I will open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't see that anybody signed up to speak on this matter, but you're not prohibited from speaking now if you'd like to. All right, not seeing anybody, I will close the public hearing and ask if someone would like to bring a resolution to the table. Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move E1, public hearing, conditional rezoning, JPC R 2025-002, proposed Northland Enclave, west side of Corporate, north of Long Lake, 5455 Corporate, PIN 88-20-08-451-004, section, is that B?
8.
8. My eyes are very dry tonight. From O, Office Zoning District, to CB, Community Business, and MF, Multifamily Zoning Districts,
Support.
as printed in the agenda packet.
Sorry. Clearly no one's interested. I don't know. Moved by Councilmember Hoderick, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Gunn, that we approve E1 public hearing conditional rezoning JPCR 2025-002, proposed Northland Enclave, west side of Corporate, north of Long Lake, 5455 Corporate, PIN 88-20-08-451-004, Section 8 from O Office Zoning District to CB Community Business and MF Multifamily Zoning Districts, as printed in the agenda packet. Discussion. Councilmember Hamilton.
This is a perfect project for this location. Appreciate the dedication to engaging the neighbors and really coming up with something that is exactly what we're looking for in that area that definitely needs and is going to get a lot of development in the near future. So I definitely support this easily, and very good project. Thanks for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
I spent a bunch of the day at the Troy Family Aquatic Center, so my eyes are dry from the sun today. I didn't realize how dry they were until I was trying to read that. So my apologies for tripping over that. This project, it just fits here. I've driven by there, sat, walked by it, and I'm not a developer. I don't have development experience. What I know is what feels right in the community. Sometimes something really doesn't, and sometimes it really does. And this just really feels right for the community. To echo his comments, I appreciate the work you've done with your neighbors. I appreciate that Northfield Parkway itself will not be hit with additional or any of the traffic from this area. I look forward to this being catalytic in that area. We hear from residents about another property that's nearby that is desperately in need of being developed. And I appreciate that this can do that. We're a 70-year-old city. Areas are going to evolve. Change can be unnerving for everyone. Our residents can feel it, understand it, aren't always sure. This feels like just a really natural evolution for this spot, and that the work you did with the Planning Commission and the dialogue there seem to be especially mindful of doing something that is evolutionary and just fits and is a change that can feel positive and feel optimistic. So I really appreciate that, and to me, this is just a no-brainer yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoderick. Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I am also very pleased to support this project. At the May 13th Planning Commission meeting, you kind of outlined your mission, which I will read it. You stated that it was to provide economically attainable starter homes for the community. And that really spoke to me because that is exactly what we need and what we are looking for. Obviously, we've seen in the past few years a change. You know, office is changing. People are working differently. And so, on the same token, we've seen a need for more housing, and especially more affordable housing, as you stated. So I really appreciate this project. I think it's in a great location. And I really appreciate the fact that you have really taken into consideration what the recommendations from Planning Commission, that you are considering sustainability, and that you're really forward-thinking. So those are all things that I really do appreciate, and so I'm happy to support this project.
Thank you, Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Chanda?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I echo the same sentiment. I mean, first of all, it's a wonderful project, and thanks for considering a lot of things, neighbors' needs, preserving green, but most importantly, I guess, we always talk about what can we do to bring young people to Troy, and I believe this is a step in the right direction, having starter homes or mid-sized homes that hopefully people can afford, and then they look forward to moving to Troy. Also, you know, what's the point in having a lot of office space that are not getting used, right? So this fits perfectly with what Troy needs. That area could become more of this developments in the future. I think a lot of the office spaces may not be getting used as much as they were. I also like the sustainability part, having the EV charger. I think those are something that we talk about quite a bit. A lot of the young people are buying EVs. So thanks for doing all that, and I'm very happy to support.
Thank you. Councilmember Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mayor. I think many of us in the room know that one of the most important issues in the state of Michigan, if not around the country right now, is housing. It is a bipartisan issue, is housing. The greatest challenge we have at the local level is finding ways to bring the housing that we need, attainable housing, diverse housing options, because people want to be in our city. We're the top 10 place to live in the United States. Also, at the same time, we need to respect our residents. We need to respect our neighborhoods. We need to respect safety. So build in places that are a win-win for everyone. And so for all those reasons, this is a no-brainer. It ticks all of the boxes of what we need in a place that I believe is up and coming. I know that the POD south of there, a plan unit development, it sounds like it's on hold a little bit, but I'm optimistic, and maybe this is the catalyst, is your development. Because with that, and then the corner that you have on Crooks and Corporate, as I often stop for coffee as I get onto I-75 in the morning. That's why I'm asking for a coffee shop, another option, a local option, is that with a plan unit development of mixed use to the south, this area could be so exciting. I can see this as a place where my son, as he grows up, would want to come back, and he would want to live in one of these places. So for all these reasons, I'm so delighted to do this, and thank you for your forward thinking.
Thank you, Councilmember Chamberlain. Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
I concur with a lot of the comments my fellow councilmen have spoken. You found a diamond in the rough. I mean, this is a great location. The fact that we don't have a lot of people here coming to say, hey, we don't want this, makes our job a lot easier. So I look forward to this development. I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Thank you. I'll just add a couple of things that I think we are all clearly on the same page and about how our support for this project, which is good news. I'd like to think that 40 plus years ago, almost 50 years ago, when Timberlands were being developed, that was kind of a cream of the crop, beautiful office space, and it was. It's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful part of our city. And I imagine back then in the 80s, by the late 80s and early 90s, they thought, wow, this is really wonderful. And things evolve and properties evolve and cities evolve. And I'd like to think that this right now is the just as exciting thing for this part of our city. And it'll rival what was done back in the 80s for the office market. I think that anytime we can take acres of unused parking lot and turn it into quality attainable housing. There'll be lots of arguments on what's affordable and what's not, and maybe the tariffs will go away and it'll be even more affordable. That's what we'll hope for. But I think that that's a good win for our city. And we do have a ton of parking lots in the city of Troy, and we also have great parking, and no one ever complains about finding a parking place in Troy. So remember that there is a balance, and it's the truth. So let's always remember that. But this is unused parking and just sits there, and this is really, really exciting. And I support this conditional rezoning because it is consistent with our master plan, and we're finally having a project, or finally seeing something happen that serves that priority one that Brent talked about. This is such an amazing part of our city that I really believe it's often lacked the imagination and I guess just the imagination. So I'm thankful that you have brought this to us and are in a position to make this a reality. You hear a lot about the housing crisis. A couple of my colleagues have spoken about it, and one of the ways to help the housing crisis, obviously, it's to build houses that people can afford, but home ownership is a way that people can then move into bigger homes later, and that's how the system works. And nothing against rentals. I was a kid who lived in a rental apartment my whole life. I've rented units in Southern California, but you don't get that same benefit as a renter that you do as a homeowner. And so anything we can do to help promote that here in the city of Troy, I'm often saying we're not going to solve the housing crisis in the city of Troy. It's not the community that's going to do that, but this is something that can make a difference, I think, and help. And hopefully it is a catalyst to some of these other projects in that area. It's very, very exciting, and I'm very supportive and very thankful, again, that you brought it here. And I also want to thank our planning department for, clearly they've worked well with you on this process, and I think that says a lot about our city as well. And it's important that we have that good relationship that balances everybody's needs from this table to out there, down the community, to the people bringing quality projects. So thank you. I'm happy to support this, and I'll ask for the vote from Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig-A?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hodert?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes public hearings this evening. Next up is public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. I don't see that anybody has signed up, so there's no need for reply. We don't have any postponed items this evening, so we move on to regular business. I-1 is board and committee appointments. There are no mayoral appointments this evening and no city council appointments. I-2 is board and committee nominations. I have no mayoral nominations this evening. It's my understanding that there are no council nominations either. I-3, we have no closed session requested this evening. So we move on to I-4, bid waiver, professional services, police department testing services, and that'll be introduced by our chief of police, Josh Jones.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. Like Brent brought a video and some catchy music. I don't have either. Matt Quiles with me. He does a pretty good Elvis Presley. If you want, you can pull him up later. But I'm excited today to introduce I-4, bid waiver, police department promotional testing services. The police department is currently down one captain position and anticipates the retirement of additional command officers during the next 2 budget years. The promotion of a captain will create an open lieutenant position as well. There is not a current list established for either police captain or lieutenant. The Act 78 civil service requires a competitive process, and then an eligibility list is established. Lieutenant candidates participate in a 4-module assessment center process, while the captain candidates will participate in a 2-module assessment center process. Upon Act 78 certification, each list will remain valid for 2 years. Since 1990, EMCO Incorporated has provided promotional testing services for the Troy Police Department. EMCO has provided excellent service, and the department is satisfied with the manner in which they conduct promotional testing. EMCO customizes the testing to meet the needs of the organization and complies fully with the Act 78 Commission requirements. EMCO provides the promotional and entry-level testing for numerous police departments and agencies around the state, and is a local company based here in Troy. The total cost for the promotional testing depends upon the number of candidates taking the examinations. The fee structure presented in the agenda packet is an estimate based on the number of candidates that have applied for the position in the past. Funds are currently available within the police department contractual services budget for these services. And with that, I welcome any additional questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? would like to move the resolution? Councilmember Chanda.
I move I-4 bid waiver, professional services, police department testing services as printed on the agenda package.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chanda, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain, that we approve I-4 bid waiver, professional services, police department testing services as printed in the agenda packet. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. Next up is I-5, approval of Oakland County Parks Grant and budget amendment for Boland Park's inclusive play area, and that'll be introduced by Kurt Bovenseep, our DPW Director.
Hey, Mayor and Council, thank you. Well, I think it's proven that you can tell you have a good project when people just want to give you money. So I know we're all very excited about the inclusive park, and just a reminder that, Council passed a resolution to use the Community Development Block Grant funds for Phase 1. The total project was kind of split up into 7 different phases because the intent was to continue to use our CDBG funds towards the project. It was at the My City County State where Commissioner Ann Erickson Galt grabbed me afterwards and said, hey, county passed the millage in 2024. We really need to start that conversation on how some of that millage money can be returned back to one of the biggest contributors to that millage, the city of Troy. So that stemmed into several conversations with city staff and Oakland County Parks and Recreation Director Chris Ward. We threw out several different ideas. They fell in love with the inclusive park. They are committed that this is not the only partnership that they want to have with the city of Troy. This is just a very small taste of what they want to do with the city of Troy. So we were happy to receive the only other grant funding other than the repair of the Clinton River Trail up in Rochester and Rochester Hills. So we were very fortunate to receive the remaining $250,000 towards the inclusive park. That $250,000 will fund Phase 2. It's not overly exciting, but very important. It will provide the necessary pathways, picnic area, and fencing that will help us on to Phase 3. So originally we were thinking we were going to install the play structure that you approved several months ago this fall. However, with this grant funding, instead of putting in the play structure and then stopping and closing the play structure again to do the Phase 2, this will all probably happen in spring of 2026. So it'll be one consistent for Phase 1 and Phase 2. We didn't anticipate this, which is why we're requesting the budget amendment. We are requesting to receive those funds and also to expend those funds. Council will see at a later council meeting, once we put together the design, another request for a resolution to actually award that construction, Phase 2 construction, hopefully later this fall.
Thank you, Kurt. Any questions? Councilmember Chanda.
Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, I'm pretty excited that we are beginning to get money to complete the project. I know a long way to go. It's 7 phases, but at least Phase 2 is good. Just curious, like the Phase 1, I think we already ordered the play structure. We're not going to install it in fall. Is that correct, or is that?
We did with the council's resolution a couple months ago enabled us to purchase that. It's being manufactured. We were kind of a little late. Most of the schools already put those orders in, so it was going to be one of the last play structures that was going to be installed this fall. However, like I said, I think it's in the best interest, so we don't have to close that one down just after opening, that we complete both Phase 1 and Phase 2. It's spring of 2026.
That makes sense, yeah. And Phase 2, remind us, I think it's there in the packet, is the kind of the walk area around the play structure. We're not talking about the main walk area that's around the entire play structure, correct?
That is correct. Well, it incorporates, we are working on the 2 to 5 play structure first, and there's 2 total play structures in that design. This will enable us to keep the second play structure, replace the first play structure, keep the second play structure, create those pathways throughout the entire area, create that picnic area, and then fence in the entire area. Phase 1 was only going to fence in the first play structure. So this will allow us to fence in the entire area and prepare to replace, the next phase is to replace that second play structure.
So all 7, like the fence will include everything that's
yes, I will.
designed
yes.
in. Okay,
that's the
great.
intent,
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks. And then the other question I was going to ask, the play structure that we're replacing, remind us how old that is. I mean, that's
It was in, I believe it was in 1998 or 1999 it was installed. We resurfaced it, the safety surfacing since then, but the play structure's almost 25 years old.
It's almost outlived its useful life, it's safe to say.
That is correct. It's harder to get parts for it. We do have to have manufactured parts for it that meet the safety criteria, so it's harder to get parts. Plus, back then, 25 years ago, the ADA standards were a lot different. It would not meet ADA standards today.
Thanks, yeah. I mean, my son played there 20 years ago and is graduated from college now, so I can imagine how old that structure is. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
You brought up Phase 3, though, for 500,000, so that's in future plans, is that it?
Yes, so hopefully this grant will stimulate other interested parties to contribute to this wonderful project. I did, when the county first approached us, to said, we'd love to contribute $250,000, and I said, well, it would be really cool if you did the 500 to get the second place structure, but they're limited to their funds. So $250,000 was all they can contribute. Again, I'm hoping that this interest with the county, maybe the newspaper will pick up on it, and we'll see some other interest. We do get about $130,000 a year from our CDBG funds. We will have an opportunity to reprogram some of the funds. We're not going to spend it all on the Lakeview pedestrian crossing, so we'll have a little bit more money to put towards this project. So it might take us, if we don't have any other grants available and we do put in for them, it'll take a couple of years to get to Phase 3.
Councilmember Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe I read this as a reimbursement grant, so that means we spend the money and then we're reimbursed after we apply for the grant.
That's correct. There is a percentage that we'll get up front from starting, but after that, it'll be a reimbursement style grant. So expenditures would be expected in 26. It's only a couple months, so the capital fund will only be out those funds probably for a couple months before we ask for the full reimbursement.
Additional questions? Someone like to move the resolution? Councilmember Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-5, approval of Oakland County Parks grant and budget amendment for Boland Park's inclusive play area, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Gunn, that we approve I-5, approval of Oakland County Parks grant and budget amendment for Boland Park's inclusive play area, as printed in the agenda packet. Any further discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig-A?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, I-6, contract ratification, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. Asked me, and I'll be presented by Jennifer Sloan, our Deputy Human Resources Director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On July 28th, 2025, the bargaining group for the for the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME for short, and our City of Troy bargaining team concluded negotiating a new contract. I want to thank both the AFSCME team as well as the city team for working together to understand the interests of both groups and finding common ground, ending in successful bargaining process. The 3-year agreement provides changes in the wages and other financial issues, an increase in the second shift differential, modifications to the certification incentive program. It also modifies overtime with additional incentives to meet the needs of our residents during weather and other emergencies. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if I ever asked this in a budget session, but given that this is effective, looking back July 1st, 2025, and we approve our budget earlier, I presume that this is taken into account in our budgets, right? These increases and all of that.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Someone like to move I-6? Councilmember Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-6, contract ratification, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Chanda, that we approve I-6, contract ratification, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Just thank you for your hard work, city staff, and all the team that goes into this. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chanda,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, I-7, 2025 City Council meeting schedule, and that'll be introduced by City Manager Frank Nastasi.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council previously approved evaluation timeline for the city manager and city attorney in January of this year. The first quarterly review took place in April, and the second was in July. The last quarterly evaluation of 2025 was scheduled for October 6th at 6 p.m. This is prior to a regular scheduled council meeting. Availability has changed, so we are proposing rescheduling this special meeting to September 29th, which also coincides with the regular meeting, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, I'll move I-7, 2025 City Council meeting schedule as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve I-7, 2025 City Council meeting schedule as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda.
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick,
Yes.
Mayor Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
Yes.
Motion carries. If you're here for an item on the consent agenda this evening, all have been approved. Next up, we have no memorandums and future council agenda items this evening to announce, so we move to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We do have one person signed up. Mr. Murish, as a heads up, our timer is not working today. We're working on replacing it, so City Clerk Dixon will have her official timer going, and you'll hear it when you hit 3 minutes. The same rules as always, 3 minutes, and we'll wait to start till you come up. As long as you don't set up a tent up here.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have a pet peeve, and that's the litter that's found in our city. And I go for morning walks sometimes, and I pick up the trash in the Somerset apartments, and it's, as you know, the grounds there are very meticulously cleaned, and they vacuum up the leaves periodically. And so anyway, they have an employee go around and pick up trash each day with a golf cart and a grabber stick. I like to give them a hand on my morning walks. Litter costs American businesses and governments about $11.5 billion a year in cleanup costs. About 2.5 billion pounds of litter are found on U.S. roadsides each year. Several years ago, New York City improved its overall crime rate with strict enforcement of minor offenses like jumping subway turnstiles. Troy could do the same with littering. People could call the police non-emergency number to report license plates of litter bugs. If you see something, say something. The ethic when I was in Boy Scouts was to leave a campsite cleaner than you found it. I picked up enough trash in my scouting days and since then to have a low tolerance for litter bugs. It's a preventable crime. It starts with parents training their children. Joey, go put your candy wrapper in the trash can. Good job. The fine for littering in Troy shall be a maximum of $500 and/or up to 40 hours of community service. And I'm looking for some money for yard sign or for signs to go in the entrance to the city saying, oink if you litter, $500 max fine and/or community service. And the community service is picking up roadside trash. So here are some of my souvenirs from the deluxe straw. Something that's useful, English as a second language. Water bottles, cigarette box. I don't usually pick up the butts because they're disgusting and they tend to decompose. Haagen-Dazs cap, Child's toy, this is just in a few days' worth of picking up trash. Candy wrappers, etc. And something valuable. A dime here and another dime there. And Chick-fil-A cup, etc. You get the message. Anyway, that's, I would like you to consider having an ordinance that would increase the fine. I don't know what it is currently, but you could put some signs up so people are warned and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. I gotta be honest, I really appreciate you coming forward tonight. And I mean that with all sincerity. It's an opportunity for us to respond and reply now. And to be quite frank, I'm shocked that people litter as much as they do still today. And I know sometimes it's wind blowing around, garbage cans, stuff, and there's reasons that trash is spread around, but littering's disgusting, and it's an embarrassment that people do it. That's just my really strong, weird anti-littering position that I'm taking right now. But I appreciate you coming forward. I do have a question for our city attorney, and I don't know if she has the answer, but thank you, Dale. But is there, we obviously have a no littering in Troy now.
Right.
And enforcement's always difficult, but.
Right, there is an ordinance, and to the extent that is allowed under state law, we have the maximum penalties.
So it's a state law, one of those, again, where our hands are tied as much as the state law allows us to do, right?
Correct.
Okay. But I appreciate you bringing the issue forward, and Councilmember Chanda and I just met with some Saywa International or Saywa Detroit representatives who focus on public service, and they were talking about some of the park cleanup they do, and I don't know, I wouldn't mind seeing some, not that I want a bunch of people out there tattletaling, but the idea of getting people to realize what an awful thing it is to litter. So, I think generationally it's gone through phases, and I don't know, I just am kind of, I'm weirdly thankful that you came forward tonight, and I thought you were going to talk about something else when I saw the word oink. Pork is something you often talk about, but you didn't bring up pork tonight, so I'm thankful for that as well. Any other comments? Councilmember Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor. How does it work on private property? So I know you can't respond, Dale. It wasn't clear, was this all on Somerset property? I presume it's up to the private, the owner of Somerset to take care of that, just as I get trash on my yard and butts. I'm like, who's throwing this stuff on my yard? But that's the responsibility of the private owner, correct? Yeah, I understand.
Well, once it's on our land, sure.
Yeah, it is. But I just came from a short vacation with family up north, and I was appalled. I was walking the North Country Trail, a beautiful gem in Michigan, and the amount of trash, like people obviously did short-term camping and left beer cans around, and there isn't the capacity of someone to pick that up, but we were just appalled by it. I've met residents as well in Troy who once a year, I believe in the spring, do a spring cleanup. They all gather together and volunteer, and maybe that's something that we can think about. And I want to say that to the public. I'd be happy to volunteer when the next group gets together. Or maybe Dale, you can mobilize us and we'll go out and we can pick some different corners of Troy to help clean up. So. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
I know we can't get in a dialogue, but it's very much a pet peeve of mine as well. But if it is on private property, Somerset Management seems like something that might be brought to their attention as well. Just a thought.
Thank you. Councilmember Chanda, did you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I'm looking at also our subdivision, and I see a lot of litters. Sometimes they just garbage can toppling, but I got into the habit of picking them up now because I'm probably more sensitive. I'm in the council, I don't want the drains to be clogged, but I think you bring up a very good point. I think we need to take a look at what we can do as a community, either clean it up, and then it sounds like we have the maximum penalty that state will allow us, so maybe enforcement of that. I know it's not easy to enforce. It is somebody throwing from the car, or just be careful about not taking care of where the trash is going. I think it's not something we can easily enforce, but I appreciate you coming forward and, actually showing bringing in a trash can literally and demonstrating what disgusting it looks like, our clean streets, our clean lawns, and suddenly we have a bunch of stuff flowing around. And so, no, thanks for doing that, yeah.
Thank you. Any other reply? No need to, but Councilmember Hoderick?
Just on a flip side of, on a positive note, I've had the opportunity to be in many of our parks on numerous occasions this summer with grandchildren visiting. I know the play structures now like the back of my hand, and how amazing the parks are. And I am struck by what a great job our DPW does getting in there to clean up. I'm having eyes on things and scrutinizing. When you're in these roles, you start to have a critical eye toward everything. And how many of the families I've watched work with their children to make sure they use the trash receptacles and throw the trash away. So I do think that there is an appetite in this community in terms of its behavior. Yes, I'm not saying it's always pristine, but I was amazed at when I see the number of people using our parks, how busy they are, and how well-maintained they are. So I think that attitude about the cleanliness, volunteers that do go out in various neighborhoods, if anything we can do to encourage and be on hand for that. Because obviously, private owners, trash appears on our lawn too, and I'm sure sometimes it's there for a couple days that maybe we haven't noticed is in the bushes. So it is unsightly. It's unsightly on our sidewalks and whatnot. So having that attitude of cleanliness, I appreciate you coming up and noting it. And I think it's something that's in our community's DNA, and we really need to keep fostering it.
I want to add to that. I am very impressed by the parks and how DPW keeps it clean. I was walking with my daughter in Sylvan Park, and it's probably about 6, 7 o'clock, and the guy had one of those blowers blowing the walkway. I says, "Hey, is Kurt your supervisor?" He goes, "What do you think I'm doing this for?" You know, he was immaculate. He was a great, great employee.
All right, that concludes our City Council and City Administration response and reply to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. We have no council referrals this evening. Would anyone like to make any comments on the reports? All right, next up, council comments. Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. So this summer, I've had the opportunity to attend at least 2 of the Summer Sensation concert series that have been taking place in the Gene Stein Park, and it is wonderful for anybody that has not attended. There's live music, bands, and refreshments. You can bring your lawn chair and just enjoy. I believe the next one, and maybe it's the last one, is August 21st, Thursday, August 21st at 6:30. So I encourage everyone to come out. And on that note, at the last concert series, we did have a booth, the City of Troy, and Kurt was there, and Dylan was there, and Kayla was there, and providing education regarding our bond. And so this is 6:30 at night on a Thursday, well beyond, office hours. And so I really appreciated the commitment from them to really be out there in the community trying to educate our residents about, the bond and what is, happening on our, in our city and what will be on the ballot in the fall. So I encourage everyone to kind of come out, visit our booths at our events. We are still reaching out in many, many different ways, trying to educate our community about this upcoming bond as well. So, thank you.
Additional council comments? Councilmember Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor. This is more some questions. So, and just to share with the public, so we do have these, I think, hot off the press trifolds that kind of explain and talk about the proposed bond information. Question I wanted to ask for city staff is, I presume we have some form of PDF that we could send to the neighborhood associations. Is that right, to send to all of them, and they can then send on to members? Is that correct?
Yeah, we can look into that. I think there's a list of emails, and we could send PDFs out. I don't see that being an issue whatsoever.
Another thing as we think about communication and we continue to do social media around education is to just remember that there's different terms in here like capital. I think explaining buildings, infrastructure, equipment, kind of breaking that down for folks. There's a word here, PASER, and we just got these, so I'm just looking at it. A lot of people don't know what a PASER rating is, so maybe even a social media, what is a PASER rating? Why does it matter? And so when you send this, maybe even we think about creating on the web page I don't know if we have a glossary we can point people to, because there's a lot of words on these right now, and a lot of words that people, we need to continue to educate and talk through. So want to encourage that.
Okay. Thank you. Additional council comments? Commented a lot tonight already, I guess. All right, there's nobody signed up for public comment for items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy. We do not have a closed session this evening, so with that, we're adjourned.